Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, where of course Damon Gant has wormed out of testifying. However, all is not lost because it seems we are recalling Lana to the stand, and hopefully now she might give us some information. The problem is, if she does, she could potentially get Emma in a lot of trouble, so maybe she won't. I get the feeling this might be getting sort of endgame-ish, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and we're going to have to be on our toes to not screw everything up. So, now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? So here we go. I'm guessing probably we're going to speak to Lana. Lana's going to dish some stuff out if we do everything right. Then Gant will come back and hopefully we'll, just get rid of Gant. Hopefully, I'm hoping. Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. ... Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course. The truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. ... Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. Let's get Gant. Let's take him down. It's going to be so satisfying if we can get him. I mean, I imagine we will get him. I don't know, though. Maybe it continues over into the next game. I don't know. Gant and the fabrication. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. No, come on, Lana! When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. It's lies. Lies, I tell you. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Stop it. I mean, I can see why she's doing it. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honour, I'm confessing to a capital offence. Of course I'm sure. But Lana! If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. Come on. She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defence may now begin its cross-examination. Here we go, then. This is it. Potentially. I don't know. Maybe this goes on for ages. I don't know. I worked alongside Gant for years. At least we've got our health back to full, which gives us a chance, right? How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Skye were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. But think about it, Miss Skye. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And? Yeah, see, the thing is, so she's saying she stabbed him with a knife. She's not saying she killed him. She stabbed him, but, you know, we've pretty much pieced together that he was already dead, so she stabbed his dead body. Which, in itself, is kind of messed up. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I just couldn't forgive him. Lana! So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? ... It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body. Huh? What? That doesn't make sense, because The whole thing was that Emma accidentally knocked into him and he impaled himself on the statue's, like, whatever it is. I'm not even sure what it is. But whatever that, like, knife thing is it's holding. Sword? Yeah, that thing. So that doesn't make sense, does it? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. So if that's the case, this is what doesn't make sense, right? So he got impaled by that. We think the award saber thing was used in some way, but then also there was the, like, the SL9 incident knife as well. Like, so this is all contradicting itself. But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. Huh? The reality is it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Exactly. Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. No, I don't think so somehow. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So, when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. Okay. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying! Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. Okay, so we're back to the beginning. So we want to press these ones, I think. Get more information on this. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound.
And then you moved the body?
But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of others. Oh, okay, I very nearly hit enter there to progress the text and accidentally selected a dialogue option. Alright, why did you plant the knife? Why did you move the body? Okay, so we're going to need to potentially think about which one would be important here. So why did you plant the knife? I mean, I guess we know why she planted the knife. It was to, like, make it seem like Dark did the killing rather than Emma with the impaling thing, I would guess. Why did you move the body? Yeah, this doesn't really... I'm not 100% sure on the body thing, because is it just to move it away from the statue so nobody would ever suspect that the statue could be the cause of the death? I think maybe we ask this because we know why the knife was planted. It was to divert attention away from Emma and onto Dark. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Come on.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body.
Okay. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Oh. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Okay, so we're back. We're back at the end of the loop then. So let's ask more about the jar bit, and then we'll do the last bit about the motivation. Yeah, so we're back. Background. Broke off the tip. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Why though? Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that's wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Right, okay. I mean... Neil Marshall was dead and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle. Yeah, but why would Emma's name have been painted in blood then?
I see. ...
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed, but I have a feeling there is more to it than that. There must be a contradiction here, somewhere. Okay. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. Okay, I want to press the last... this. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Okay, I want to press this one as well. So, you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it, period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying! She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened! In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright! Looks like... okay, yeah, so we're back to the end of the loop again. So, we've got to find a contradiction. I'm guessing the contradiction is going to be something to do with the jar then, because... broke off the tip. Pieces of the jar shattered during the events threatened my plan. Only... okay, so, I think what we want to do here... let's go back round. I think what we want to do is... this one. Shattered during the events. So, if it shattered during the events, then how did the name Emma get painted in blood on the jar, right? So, yeah, here. Final fragment found in Chief Gant's safe. Emma is written on blood. So I think we probably present this, because if what she's saying during the whole Marshall getting impaled on the statue thing, it just happened to fall and smash, why would the name Emma be written on it? Right? Because he wouldn't have had time to do that after being impaled, or like during being impaled. So that must have happened before, which would have meant he was cut, wrote the name on, and then got impaled. So it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to present this. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
Do you have a problem with that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Yeah, but how would he do that if it was already smashed? Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. That is correct.
Order! Order!
Your Honour, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we are headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony. ...
Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. Not sure I believe that.
You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't Chief Prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well, the defence may now begin its cross-examination.
Okay, jar and message in blood, cross-examination. Here we go. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. So, the jar was already broken? It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defence's case.
Hey, but not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you'd do that for me? It seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
To be safe, I wiped away the blood. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. ... What else could I have done in this situation? Lana! I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. Yeah, that's true. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I've finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Okay, so we're back to the beginning. And we are out of time for this episode, unfortunately, so we're going to have to carry on and present this contradiction next time. It all seems to hinge around this jar, doesn't it? So I think this is really going to be the key to unlocking everything that happened in this case. Maybe we're getting to near the end of the game now, which is pretty crazy. I'm really excited to see how it all turns out. So as always, thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to my patrons, Arcades Games, Wayne, Nate, Paul from the Phantom Fellows, Lyle, Hobo, Numinous, Kumadim, Paulione, Flossie the Sheep, JohnCon555, Chrissy, Paul James, Salties, Adventure Game Geek, and Megan, and I'll see you next time.